is Tomonews for Tuesday, January 17th.
Rasta dog among dozens of neglected animals rescued from German home.
On January 12th, at a home in Bad Oeynhausen, 62 dogs were seized, found covered in their own filth, the victims of years of neglect. This pooch's fur was so matted, animal care workers almost confused it with a sheep. When they realized it was a dog, they called in reinforcements to help give the poor dog a much-needed haircut. A thorough snippety-snip to leave the old urine and feces-drenched coat behind, a nice warm bath, and voila! Rasta dog is no more. It's amazing what a good pair of grooming shears can do. 5 guinea pigs were also found in need of help, one with a bad hairstyle of his own. So bad, in fact, some of his skin had torn off due to the weight of the excess fur. After the spot treatment, though, he too appears to be in much better shape. Along with the guinea pigs, a couple of rabbits were also rescued, and in total, 69 animals were placed into 2 nearby shelters. A social media plea resulted in donated dog food, shampoos, a shearing machine, and some funds to help out until homes could be found for the now cuddly creatures. Meanwhile, an investigation to identify and locate the person behind this disgusting display of neglect is underway.
With justice, veteran arrested for rescuing dog from hot Mustang.
Army veteran Michael Hammond saw a dog trapped and struggling inside a hot car, and being the awesome hero he is, broke the window to rescue the little guy. Except our hero's story doesn't end there. Nope, the owner returned. Instead of thanking Hammond, she called the cops and got him charged with criminal trespassing. The owner had parked her car in a Georgia car park and left her dog inside on a sweltering hot day. Luckily for the poor mutt, Hammonds was walking by and spotted the dog inside the increasingly hot vehicle. Seeing the dog was panting and warm, Hammonds decided to take action. Using the footrest from his wife's wheelchair, Hammond smashed the car window to rescue the dog. But when the owner returned, she was pissed to see someone had broke the window of her beloved Mustang. So she called the cops, who charged Hammonds with criminal trespassing. Thankfully, the Mustang owner did at least receive a citation for leaving the dog in the hot car. For Hammonds, while Georgia state law allows people to break into cars to rescue people and babies, it doesn't cover pets. How's about that for some with justice?
Minnesota baby miraculously survives 11-story plunge from apartment balcony. A 15-month-old boy is in critical condition but is expected to survive after falling 11 stories from a Minneapolis high-rise. The accident took place on Sunday night, while the toddler, Musa Daib, was home with his father and sister. After the father stepped away to get something from another room, the toddler's 3-year-old sister opens the balcony door and Musa wandered out. Within a minute, Musa's sister ran to the other room to get her father, telling him that the baby had fallen. Authorities are still unsure of how the toddler slipped through the railings that stand 47 inches tall and are spaced no more than 6 inches apart. Fortunately, Musa landed on a small, mushy patch in front of the building. The baby survived with a concussion, a punctured lung, and fractures to his spine and ribs. Adults would likely not survive such a fall, but babies can better endure the impact as they're more flexible. But doctors still consider it a miracle that the boy survived.
Pregnant woman stabbed to death before unborn baby is ripped from her womb. 22-year-old Angelique Sutton was 8.5 months pregnant when she was stabbed, and her unborn child was ripped from her womb by 22-year-old Ashley Wade, a woman she knew from school. Wade had been telling people she was the one who was pregnant and tried to pass Sutton's baby off as her own. Wade was taken into custody by the police officers who responded to the scene of the gruesome murder, which involved Wade strangling Sutton and stabbing her multiple times in the neck and torso at Wade's apartment in the Bronx area of New York. Wade then performed a crude cesarean section to remove the baby from Sutton's womb. She later claimed she was trying to save the child. When Wade's boyfriend arrived at the scene, he wrapped the baby in a jacket and called 911. Emergency officials tended to the newborn outside the house before rushing both the infant and her gravely wounded mother to the hospital. Sutton later died from her injuries. Wade is undergoing a psychological evaluation and has been charged with manslaughter, murder, and criminal possession of a weapon.
The voice star Christina Grimmie shot dead at Florida concert. Late Friday night, a rising star went out in the sky. Christina Grimmie, former finalist on The Voice and a YouTube personality who had amassed more than 3 million subscribers, was was shot and killed by a lone gunman after a performance in Florida. The night of June 10th, 22-year-old singer Christina Grimmie put on a show at the Plaza Live in Orlando. Shortly afterward, she was signing autographs for fans at a meet and greet inside the venue. A man in line to meet her, now identified as 27-year-old Kevin James Loibel, walked up to Grimmie and shot her at close range. Grimmie's brother Marcus immediately dove over a merchandise booth and tackled the gunman to the ground. In the midst of the scuffle, the gunman shot himself dead. Grimmie was rushed to the hospital, but died early Saturday morning. Police have revealed that Kevin James Loibel was armed with 2 handguns, 2 additional magazines, and a large hunting knife. He allegedly drove 2 hours from his home in St. Petersburg to commit the murder. It is not believed Loibel and Grimmie were previously known to each other. Police have yet to release a possible motive. How the new marijuana breathalyzer test works. A breathalyzer to help law enforcement police potheads behind the wheel is currently being field tested on drivers in California. The marijuana breathalyzer, named the Hound, is put to use when a police officer pulls over a driver who is observed to be driving erratically. The driver blows into a tube in the device, twice. It will then signal that it has collected enough breath for testing purposes. A chemical analysis will then locate and isolate the THC molecules in the sample. Once the process is complete, THC levels, measured in parts per trillion or picograms, will be displayed on the screen. Drivers tested in California were not arrested or charged, but those who did test positive for THC were not allowed to continue driving. Hound Labs has aims of distributing the devices to law enforcement across the U.S. during the first half of 2017.
Young boy decapitated in waterslide accident. A Kansas water park has reopened mere days after a 10-year-old boy was decapitated while riding the world's tallest waterslide. A number of bystanders witnessed the bloody incident and say the horrific scene was one they will never forget. Caleb Schwab, the son of a Kansas lawmaker, was in the front seat of a 3-passenger raft with only a Velcro strap securing him during the Varouk's 168-foot vertical drop. The strap reportedly came off during the ride, ejecting the boy from the raft. He likely bounced around the netting and the slide and was gruesomely decapitated as a result. As the raft he'd been riding in slid to the bottom of the slide, it was followed by a river of blood and Schwab's lifeless body. The Varouk has long been problematic, with rafts reportedly flying off the slide during early test runs. But surprisingly, the ride passed a safety inspection from an insurance company just 2 months ago, despite numerous complaints from riders that the straps were flimsy and often came loose. The Varouk ride has been closed for the rest of the season. But it's infuriating that the Schlitterbahn water park remains open, despite apparent gross negligence regarding guest safety. Man gets 8 years for killing friend and feeding his penis to dog. A Mexican man was sentenced to 8 years in prison for killing a friend who tried to molest him and then cutting off the man's junk and feeding it to his dog. Mario Alberto Lozada Rejas was walking his dog in 2014 with his buddy Mario Hernandez Banda while the two were drunk. The two then got into an argument after Banda tried to touch Reyes in a sexual way. Reyes shoved his friend away, at which point Banda went off to take a piss in an alley. Reyes then followed him, took out his revolver, and shot him in the head. Reyes then used a knife he found on Banda and used it to chop off his amigo's dick. Reyes said his dog happened to be next to him and was sniffing at the detached chimichanga, so he decided to give it to the dog, who then proceeded to eat it. Reyes left Banda's body in the alley and then finished walking his dog before heading home to sleep it off. He previously was facing life imprisonment for the grisly murder.